All right, I'm back.
Welcome back.
No, Dave and I learned so much on that compression ISO test. So now let's talk, can you control this camera remotely? I see all these nifty antennas on here.
The most basic option for remote control is through Bluetooth, like you have here, where you can control all your white balance, tint, and run stop settings. And if the lens is active, you can do iris, zoom, all those things.
Great, so I'm able to immediately, and I'm changing it. You can almost look at that screen right there. You can see how I'm changing all the different ISOs right there. I can go, I can change my white balance, make it nice and cold, bring it back up, put it to our 3400, which we're kind of operating at. I can change my tint. Ooh, I can make it green. And then I can make it magenta. And we like that 10. Was looking really nice. Obviously, shutter angle. You can see that. Now, you said there were a couple other people out there that are using connectivities as well.
The other method, it's a little bit more professional, is REST API. And so we can do REST API controls over Wi-Fi or Ethernet hardwired, but also now through serial control with 7-pin LEMO.
Oh, fantastic. So it's
something that we're now offering, so it gives you even more options for control.
Oh, great. Very good, very good. All right, you can see we have a lot to cover in this Blackmagic URSA Cine 12K first look. But if you want to take a deeper dive, head over to Filmmakers Academy, grab the free bundle, and you get access to over an hour of these tests where we're putting it up against all the high-end professional cameras, the Alexa 35, the Alexa LF, the Red Raptor X, and the Sony Venice 2. And here you can really see how well the skin tones compete with all those other manufacturers. Let's go back to it and enjoy the rest of the first look. All right, let's talk hot buttons, because I see a lot of different things that I can assign.
Yeah.
I saw a lot on the viewfinder, and one thing I just want to point out, this viewfinder is one of the nicest viewfinders I've ever look through. I can expose with this viewfinder. So while we're on that for a second, tell me about this viewfinder.
This is actually a full HD resolution OLED display. OLED display, and it's in such a small little image, so when you look at it, you can't even see pixels. I mean, it looks like an optical viewfinder. That's what people tell me.
Yes.
But yeah, 24-bit color, and now we've added so much more functionality. Finally, you can take it off of the camera. You can put it wherever you want. You can have an extension eyepiece back here, put it on the other side of the camera.
Yeah, extension eyepiece, we got it right here. You know, this whole setup is so nice where, you know, this is kind of our studio days of doing, you know, I find all my operators have gone to this screen now, but I still, if I'm going handheld, I'm looking through this. I just love to be one with the camera. It's also nice to
have that dark surrounding the image, so you're just focused on the image. I love that too.
And also because I have these wonderful progressives, so when I'm looking at a monitor, I operate like this. Which is not so good.
But getting back to your function buttons or your hot buttons.
Yeah, let's go into that.
Because we've added 6 on here that can be programmed, and there's 7 on the camera.
Wow,
so that's 13
hot buttons.
Yep.
Okay, great. And you can assign them to be able to zap in for a close-up, you know, to check focus right.
Yep.
You can assign it to record, I noticed.
Or toggle false color on, toggle overlays, toggle the LUT versus
log.
Versus
raw or log, yeah, great.
So many options, and that's something that one of the things that we've listened to ACs about is like, a lot of times we were focused on cinematographers and DPs, but now we really, with this camera, focused on ACs as well.
Excellent. And I also love the dual display. So I have one here that I can obviously, you know, close up, and I still have access to all the settings and everything. And then I spin it around, and I have also another one that I can then get all of my functions for the camera and programming it. So it's not like while I'm operating, the first AC is getting in here and having to do all this stuff. They can actually do it on the dumb side of the camera, right? to be able to program all that, which is really nice. And when you're on this screen over here, it actually mirrors, and we're going to kind of show you that once you're on the same page. So as long as you engage the different pages.
Along that, there's 5 independent displays on this camera that you can control whether they're going to get a log image or a LUT image or overlays or clean feed.
Oh, wow.
So you have the LCD on this side, that's one.
Okay.
LCD on the opposite side. And
2.
then you have the front, which can be used for the EVF or the coming Pixis monitor, which is going to offer full controls on the Pixis monitor.
Great.
And then, of course, there's 2 SDIs in the back. So 2 12G SDIs. So a lot of options, and they're all completely independent from each other.
Fantastic. So you can assign everyone exactly what you want to send out to a monitor.
Yep.
That's great. Good. Okay. Let's talk about the ergonomics of how this thing mounts, because what I really loved is how this felt like I was back on a film camera. Just the way it if I was going to be doing this and moving with it, it just felt, and all its adjustments felt very much like how I used to operate when it was film.
Yeah, this is just another example of taking feedback in from cinematographers all over the world, basically for the last 12 years. We've been making cameras for just over 12 years. All that feedback has been put into this camera, and obviously, one thing that people said, they loved our EVF previously, but it was locked in this one position. It was more traditional to an ENG camera.
Yes, very much so. I felt like all of a sudden, when I saw that, it was like, okay, I'm operating something that's like, I felt like it was going to go to beta.
If you're on wheels, there's no way you're going to make that work. You're
right. Yeah, exactly.
But obviously, this can go way back far with the extension.
Yep.
You can use your own third-party mounting accessories, but super flexible and just offers a lot more functionality.
Yeah, no, for handheld mode, you can like swoop that down so it lowers it here, so you can be very much one with the camera. I can go to my handheld mode where I'm putting it up. I used to grab the matte box when I was operated Panavision. I never did handles down here. It was all about grabbing it so I was one with the camera this way.
Yep.
So that I can see that the ergonomics will easily give me that.
And we actually are doing a lot more of our own hardware as far as the peripherals and mounting. This is all our own here. This is a new dovetail plate. And bonus, we have the rods that go all the way through, so you don't have to have a specific size to the rods. Previously, it stopped.
Oh, right. It had a dead end there.
Dead end.
Yes.
That means like if you had to get shorter or longer, you're kind of stuck. You could get new rods. This one's like put on like 20-inch rods and you're good all day long.
Gotcha. Okay, great. And obviously it pops right out of there very easy.
Yeah, it's a side loading on the dovetail. Super easy, super quick. And there actually are 2 options here. I prefer this one because I only work with 15mm lightweight. But we do have a 19 Studio and a 15.
Okay.
But it's a little extra weight.
Great.
And because I'm not going to use the 19, I love this.
It just seems like you've professionalized this a lot more.
Yeah, and a very small example of that is adding 3/8 ports. Previously, we've all been 1/4-20 on the bottom of the camera, on the top, which is functional.
Right.
But it's nice to have more options for 3/8, and it's a little more sturdy.
Yeah.
And so now on the bottom of the camera, there's like 4 3/8 and 3 1/4-20s. On the top here, it's all 3/8. I actually put a little insert to get 1 1/4-20.
Okay.
But so that's another small example of listening and trying to make the cameras more easy to rig and faster to work with.
Fantastic. All right. So now let's talk about the variable ND. So is this true glass or is it electronic?
Well, it's not a variable ND.
Why isn't it variable?
It's three.
Yeah. So you have 6. 1, 2?
2, 4, and 6 stop ND.
Okay,
so
2, 4, and 6.
Here we are right here. And it's mechanical motorized. So you can do this remotely. You go plus 2 stops, again, 4 stops, and 6 stops. And that's a really nice option to have. Previously, it's all manual.
Okay.
And A funny side story about that. I get to go to Coachella every year because we have a bunch of our cameras there, and I saw up on a spider cable cam, like, Tor, we go from 12 noon in the desert to 12 midnight. I need to be able to ride those NDs. And previously it's all manual, right? So now through external controls and through our ATEM software, they can do that.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, but it's glass going in, it's not an LCD
It's glass.
screen.
It's glass, 2, 4, and 6 stops glass.
Great. And mixed with the previous, like the Mini, when it first came out, did not have an OLPF.
Correct. The first version that you have here.
Yes, didn't have the OLPF. Then you added an OLPF, and then this camera has a full OLPF along with glass NDs. And those glass NDs are gauged for IR pollution as well, correct?
Yes.
So the higher we go, the more IR that they're taking away. Okay, excellent. I always love when a camera has glass, because I know that they're baking in that IR.
For sure.
It's like what, I worked very closely with Tiffin when Red didn't have any internal NDs. So I was trying to, design a neutral density that took all that IR pollution out, no matter if I went up to, 12 stops of neutral density, that if it was a 0.3 to 12 stops, so 1 to 12 stops, the color did not change.
For sure.
And that was a huge process to really figure that out with Tiffin and a ton of testing, but you can see the power of the glass is where it's at.
Yeah. Totally.
Very cool. All right, let's talk lens mounts, because one of the things that I was really interested in is all these unique mounts that you have with this camera.
Yeah, so we stick with the traditional. We have PL that comes with the camera. You also get an EF mount, and they're pre-shimmed.
Okay.
But as an accessory, we offer the LPL for larger format lenses that are becoming more and more popular.
Yes.
And then a Hasselblad mount.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah.
Now you got to come up with a Mamiya mount.
Yeah, well, you can adapt.
Okay, good. All right, now we're going to dive into anamorphic squeeze.
That's fun.
Which, anamorphic has been the rage for the last 5-6 years. And so I see that you've really embraced that with this camera. And what I'd love for you to do is go ahead and take our Jarrell through this with your side mount, so you can see how we get to this programming system.
Let me start over here and get to menu and monitor and anamorphic squeeze right here. Okay, so there's 6 different options for anamorphic squeeze currently.
Okay.
That could grow with firmware updates, but if I get over here so I can synchronize them, you see that change?
So now you're at 1.3.
This is 1.3.
3.
And then we go to 1.5, 1.6, 1.66, 1.8, and the good old 2.0.
2 times.
Yep.
Wonderful. 2 times has been kind of the norm for so many years in film. So now with all these different, anamorphic manufacturers, like what do we have on here? Oh, we have this wonderful coral from Second Reef, and this is a 1.5. So I will show you on this how I'm going to dive into and control that. So right now you're looking at the monitor over there, and then I will go into my menu system. I'm going to go into monitor.
Let's see how fast you can do this.
And I'll go into here, and I'm at none. And this is a 1.5. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out the Coral Second Reefs, but this glass is phenomenal anamorphic. They're adding more millimeters. Right now they only have 3 in the set, but the close focus on this lens on a 50 mil goes to 17 inches.
It's a nice look.
Okay, whoa.
Even not squeezed.
Oh, yeah, great. Look at that beautiful bokeh, right? All right, so now we'll go to something that's in focus right there, and then I'm going to go into 1.5, and perfect. It de-squeezes this.
It looks great.
Yes, absolutely. Now I'm going to pop this off.
Oh, it's a smart lens too.
Yes, smart lens. So it will be able to, and we're going to dive into the whole smart lens technology. Now I'm going to bring my favorite. This is the Caldwell Chameleon. I've shot my last 3 features on this glass. Mount this up. Okay, and obviously that's a 1.5 squeeze, but this is a 1.8. Bam.
Ooh.
Look at the now close focus on this is only 2'6". So you can see that 17 inches is kind of ridiculous for an anamorphic.
Yeah.
Because so many times I had to deal with diopters and all this stuff to be able to get those close-ups and those extreme close-ups. 17 inches, when you think about it, is only about this far away from the film plane.
Of course, you can change your aspect ratio with anamorphic by changing how much of the sensor we're scanning too.
Right.
Whether you're open gate or you're doing a 16:9 crop, and so on.
Yeah. So right now we have it at 1.8, and like we said, it does all those different variables, but this is putting the Caldwell Chameleons on this LF Cine. My God, I can't wait to get that little recipe going. All right, so you can see we can de-squeeze all within camera. We're not having to use small HD monitors to kind of, take that and de-squeeze it. It's all done within camera.
And it's recorded in the metadata, so you bring it into Resolve, it already knows the aspect ratio that you shot at.
Now this has to be incredible with post-production, with VFX.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit on how VFX are going to really embrace this camera.
Yeah, you were just going to kind of lead me into the whole thing that we have gyroscopes in the camera. So it's actually recording per frame how the camera's level. Is it tilting down? Is it tilting up? Is it a little yaw? Like that. So it can actually stabilize in post based on that information.
Oh my God.
So that's super handy. And I say the more metadata you can get in the file, the better.
Absolutely.
Like ideally one day maybe we'll have height, how high is the camera? And all that information.
Geo-tracking, like with satellites and everything, to be able to tell how high it is off the Earth.
If you have to do a reshoot or something, obviously.
No, very much so. I mean, so many times when you're going in, I call them, the pickups, and so many times you're going in there and you're like trying to find that exact shot and the height and everything. But I do have my ACs write all that down, and they give me that final folder at the end. So it does help me a ton. But this is all just really good on-set management in regards to etiquette and protocols of your team to be able to track that. When I first went on, I think it was like 8 movies ago, I said, I want every camera measured, I want the height, I want to know the distance. And there's a lot of times first ACs are not even measuring the distance that they are away. They're just on a monitor and a lot of times when you're matching coverage, I need to know if it was 6'6" away. So when I come around to do the matching over, I know that I'm 6'6" away. So, having as much metadata obviously is going to help in the VFX world and post workflow.
That is another advantage of the smart mount lenses, because you actually do get where is the focus set, what zoom level are you at, and all that information, the iris of course. So super helpful.
Excellent. Let's dive into high resolution monitoring and your camera control, because what is the nit level on your monitors?
1500 nits.
1500 nits. So now we're talking full on, oh my God, HDR.
Yep, fully capable of HDR. And I also have the video assist here. It's a 12G HDR monitor, which is 7 inches, and that's, I believe, 2500 nits.
Wow. Okay. So really, and these both monitors are 1500 nits.
Yes.
Both sides.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. So in camera control, let's take them through on how they would enable, let's say, overlays.
Let me just switch to open gate. So that gives you a little bit less of a super wide. Because you're actually
So let me see the difference between that for a second.
Yep, so this is the open gate full sensor. It's 3x2 sensor.
Okay.
And then I think you were at 16:9, which makes it a little bit of crop. So we're getting a wider aspect ratio.
Okay.
Let's try another one. Here's 17:9, even wider.
Okay.
240.
Whoa. Love that.
That's fun, huh?
Yeah.
I can see a whole different type of movie that way. It's almost like immersive. Yeah, so there's all those options, and it's good to know.
So now if we did this, and say I wanted to do like, you know, a framing.
Yeah.
So I could do these overlays.
I usually save presets that I can quickly toggle on and off
Okay.
with whatever overlays I typically use.
All right.
But in this case, this is not my camera. Don't have presets on this camera, but it is very easy to use. It's just that you still have all those separate outputs. Like, do you want to see the overlays on everything, or just that monitor, or just on your LCD, or just on the UVF?
So obviously we have histogram down on the left side. We got our audio levels. We have our shutter speed.
Yep.
We have 23, our sound.
So this monitor is coming out of the second 12G port.
Okay.
So I've got that here, which we call it SDI-B.
Now, if I put this back on there, the smart lens, I would be able to see the iris and everything.
Yes. You want to do that?
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that.
All right.
How do you do your lens changes?
That's all good.
Everybody's got a little different way. Thank you, sir. Put this down here.
Okay, and
Okay.
then go ahead and change it to 1.5 on your thing, so we're all good there.
I'm right at the stage where the readers are here if I need them, and it's getting like more and more often.
You'll come
1.5.
over to the dark side and go with progressive very soon.
All right, so simple things I can do. I've got overlays on now. I can say turn off my overlays.
Oh, wow.
That's status text, so we just got clean image. I can say I want to look at the director's information. And now, this is a fun one, first AC.
Oh, that's nice. So now I'm seeing all my f-stops and my focus on the monitor as I'm pulling. Almost like the Light Ranger that Preston makes.
Yeah, and we're working with those companies too to add some functionality.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But so, if I turn the image over here so I can see it from this side and get some shots of the camera guys.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't know, did they sign?
They're in the darkness
They sign,
anyway.
you know.
Yeah, everyone signed a release.
Okay, good.
Oh man, now you gave him my cheat sheet. This is ridiculous. You're showing me that I don't memorize anything.
So say I'm on the AC side, I can hit this lens button, and it gives me the same feedback, and I can adjust.
Oh, so you could pull right from here.
I pull from here, and then watch this. Set a mark, pull from here, set a mark, and it lights up when you get back to that mark, so it's super, super handy. And you can do the same thing with your iris.
So like iris pulls?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it's kind of a nice new thing that we're adding. Of course, you get the serial number and the lens information because it's smart glass.
Right. And that, again, is all tracked metadata. That's great. All right, so those are all the overlays we've I love the director's overlay. Show me that one again, because I want to look at what so that's where the script supervisor.
There's a lot more choices than what we looked at. But so
Okay, yes.
if I go back to cinematography, and then I'm going to go to, there's the text around images option here. So if you want to make sure your text is not on the image at all, which, personally, I prefer to have a nice clean image.
Right.
Without time code on top of it. So that's an option we have here. Super nice. Safe area guide, customizable.
Oh, right. See that red square basically for our A camera.
Yep. And then I can, of course, I try not to use red for whatever reason.
You can change it all the different colors?
So I can change it to...
Can you make it rainbow?
Here's black, here's white.
No, I want a rainbow. I want all the colors.
We're not there yet.
Oh, Jesus.
Not there yet. But I'll submit the feedback.
Okay.
So you can change your guide opacity. So you have like a 75%. So if you want to like mask, say you're shooting open gate,
Yes.
but you're delivering 16:9, you can do like 50% transparency on the mask, so you can actually see what's underneath.
Right. A lot of times when you're panning over, you can see a light stand or whatever that's coming into frame, and then that's huge. And the masking is something that I really like. I work with one operator that loves just black, you know, because they love just seeing that image.
Right. But so I can activate overlays like thirds for framing. We can do crosshairs.
Can you do like 9:16?
Yeah.
Oh,
for
fantastic.
Sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Let me put on my.
Yeah, get those going.
So we're here. We're at SPIB frame guide, and then I can go into the next page and do. It's a little bit more confusing when you're doing anamorphic because there's more things to think about. But this is a 14:9. 185, 21, 235, 239, 24, 9:16.
Oh, look at that.
And then I can also change the opacity like that we talked about.
Yeah. There's our Instagram feed.
50%. That's
Why are we framing like that?
100%. We should shoot this whole thing like this.
I like it. All right, get this thing back to like giving me some cinema. Okay, so now let's talk about the build of this camera, because I have to say for many years I was really not fond of all your plastic action.
Yeah, well, we try to find a good balance between keeping it lightweight,
right,
as much as possible, but also durable.
And this is magnesium or plastic?
Magnesium alloy.
Okay.
And that's definitely the full skeleton. You can feel the weight. You can feel how sturdy it is.
Yes, very much so. That's great. So, and like you were saying, a lot more 3/8 and 1/4-20s here, and the same at the bottom.
Yep. 5 and 4, was that right? 5 and 4?
Yeah,
so
it feels much more beefy and feels like it's got some stability there for sure. Now, the other thing that I loved is you're like, when we were first talking a couple weeks ago, is the connectors. So let's dive into the connectors, because a lot of times on other cameras, the connectors were not the professional grade.
Oh yeah, so like different port options for powering accessories.
Right.
For run stop. It's one of the things, you know, we got our feedback over the years and we knew about it, like we're trying to keep the cameras low cost and simple because we have a wide market of users.
Absolutely, yes.
And some people don't need Fisher Limo.
Right.
And for years we didn't have it, but thank goodness we do now.
Yes. I noticed that you got the Limo, the power, 8-pin Limo on the power, right?
Yeah, 8-pin Limo here, and we got a 2-pin Limo up top for powering accessories.
Okay.
By the way, there's 2 USB-C ports under here, which can do a number of things, including power accessories.
Great.
Or charge your phone. You can do that.
Okay.
You can actually also control our rear focus and zoom controls. So if you have like an EF lens that's active, you can actually focus with our rear controls.
Oh, wow, okay.
So yeah, powering accessories, software updates, very functional, and actually video out. I didn't mention this, and a lot of people don't realize, but you can actually go out USB-C to HDMI with the proper cable. So there's no HDMI on the camera, but you can get to an HDMI monitor
through USB-C.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that we were noticing just on our big oneer that we did on the Ronin is this camera is very power hungry.
Yes.
And enabling it just off of this 2-pin Limo to do all the accessories is, you know, we were not able to get both of our motors working.
Yeah.
And we had to go into 12 volt instead of what you're saying is this camera performs much better in a 24 volt setting.
It's meant in a 24 volt world. It can be operated in a 12 volt, but with limitations.
Right. And that's what we felt. That's what we saw, that limitation.
So for the camera like this, which has 16 stops of dynamic range, part of the key to that is keeping it cool. And that takes more power.
Okay.
But also due to the higher frame rates and the power of the medium module and so on, and the accessories that professionals require, it takes more power. And other cameras are the same way. You know, I'm not going to name names, but high-end cameras are going that direction.
Yes. Well, I mean, you have a camera that's this size, and by the time my ACs build it out, the thing is huge, and it's got so many, you know, plates that they've put this on and that on.
See what camera it is.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So we've eliminated the plastic. We've gone to magnesium alloy. We talked about all the mounting points on the for the tripod, which is much beefier. And we've talked about the new connectors. Let's talk about battery mounts, because what was really, now can I change all different battery mounts on this? Because we, all of a sudden this showed it up and I was like, where's my V-lock?
Yeah. It comes,
Why is it a B-lock?
It comes standard with a B mount, as in boy.
Okay.
And this is a core battery, which is dual voltage for 12 and 24.
Great.
So it supports all the features of the camera. But we also sell a V-mount version and a gold mount version of our own, but you can also go to the third parties like, say, Anton Bauer, and do their 24-volt version, which they have, and it works with our camera.
Okay.
And
that's just changing this little battery back here with
like
this looks like star keys there.
It's like a 3-minute swap out. Just like our lenses are actually even easier now. That the lens mount is easier to change. There's just 4 screws.
Right, so now we're just talking 4 screws on this side to be able to change the mount from, like we talked about, PL, EF, Hasselblad, LPL.
Yep.
Okay, hopefully Mamiya. We can adapt it. So there's just one of these accessory ports here, this 2-pin LEMO.
On the plate itself, and then we have on the front is run stop or power.
Okay, great.
And then the serial 7-pin, which can be control or power.
Okay.
And then additional power from the USB-C ports. I've actually powered wireless receivers, wireless video receivers with this port.
Okay, great. Awesome. Now, something that just blew my mind, and because not many times can you find one camera that can do high frame rates, right? You're usually, like, when I'm shooting the Venice 2, if in anamorphic, if I want to shoot 96 frames, I have to go 17:9 and shoot spherical. I can't shoot anamorphic, right? There's limitations with that. But with this camera, we are literally not zooming in on the sensor. We're not doing any kind of crop, and we're able to do frame rates that no other camera really can do.
Well, you can achieve higher frame rates when you do a little bit of a crop.
Okay.
But just as a starting point, we are 12K open gate at 80 frames per second.
Which is amazing.
So yeah, that's quite an accomplishment by itself.
Because 8.6K on the Sony can only give me 60 frames per second.
Yeah. If we do a 17:9 crop, so it's just a slight crop on the top, still full width, that'll give you 100 frames per second.
Okay.
And then in 12K, the 240 crop, which is my happy place. I love it.
I love it.
I love 240. That gives us 120.
Which is, yes, I'm either doing 90, I'm either doing, multiples of 12. I'm doing 24, I'm doing 48, I'm doing 96.
And then my other favorite sweet spot is 8K 240, which gets you up to 224 frames per second. And because it's 8K, you're getting the faster sensor readout. So minimize rolling shutter, almost invisible rolling shutter. But you're still getting more than 6K imagery.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A friend of ours recently did this for a big spot that's going to be at the Super Bowl, where they did 8K, but they're delivering in 4K, but you still have 6K of image, so you're still downscaling, even though we've done a crop.
Wow. Okay, great. And what if I go to 4K? What's the highest frame rate the camera can do?
4K doesn't change much from the 8K.
So I can't go.
It's fairly.
I can't go 240.
It's fairly identical because of how our scaling of the RAW works.
Okay, so 220 what?
224.
224.
In 8K 240.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. When I was looking at a lot of the research and information online, I came across this, Generation 5 color science. So how are the two sensors different from the Mini to the Cine?
Well, they both have Gen 5 color science.
Okay.
It's just the current iteration of our color science. So using our skills with DaVinci Resolve and knowing about the sensor and optimizing the color for Resolve, that's where they come up with Gen 5.
Okay.
But they're the same, so they can use the same LUTs, have the same look in general.
But the sensors are different.
Sensors are
correct?
different. So we're looking at a Super 35 sensor for the original 12K, and then a full frame 24 by 36 millimeter sensor for the Cine. So much larger, but same resolution as far as the capture.
Okay.
So that leads us to having a larger photo site, so we call buckets,
Right.
that can capture light. And that's always something you're looking to do, is capture more light, because then you get more dynamic range, more sensitivity, cleaner looking images.
Yeah, I noticed that just with looking with the side by side. The Mini Pro, when the red helium came out, that was an 8K packed into a Super 35, and it felt so tight, and it felt like the photo buckets were very small compared to the LF or even the red Gemini, which was 4K, 5K. Those photo buckets were much larger, and it just looked more cinematic. It looked more like film to me. So we're having larger photo buckets because we're spreading 12K over a large format sensor instead of a Super 35.
Right, which gives us one of the biggest selling points to me in this camera is 16 stops of dynamic range.
Right, how many does this have?
14.
14. So you're gaining 2 more, which is definitely, we saw it in our tests where that hot light was coming in at 5 stops over, and plus, if I spot metered that, it was probably, 9 or 8 stops over, and you could see how the LF was blooming and rolling it over like film, where the Mini felt clippy.
Yeah, and it's important to look at that in Resolve, because like on set, we're just looking at a LUT. The LUT's gonna clamp down, it's not gonna give you the full range anyway.
Right.
But like I said before, Blackmagic RAW is recording all that information in a fairly high bit rate because we want to give the colorist that flexibility.
Great, fantastic. Okay.
Dynamic range.
Yes.
So some people ask, is this a dual gain sensor?
Yeah.
Or dual native ISO? From what I understand from the product manager in Australia, we could have gone down that road with this sensor to do dual gain. But we would have gotten a hit in dynamic range. So it was a compromise. Like, I don't know the exact number, it would have been like 14.5 dynamic range versus the 16. So in my opinion, I'd rather have the dynamic range.
Well, I have to say, when, and this is kind of the icing on the cake of this whole presentation, is our over and under. Because when we were going on that push in, and you see Kira walk in and she is 6 under, you can see all of it. It's like, it's amazing how well that sensor even looks in low light at the right ISO. So you're not using the 1600 or the 3200 to gain that. You're lighting it to, let's say 800 ISO, and you can see that beautiful dynamic range. Let's talk about HDR a little bit. So the beauty of this is all your monitors on board are 1500 nits. I think even when Dave Cole and I have done HDR passes for feature films for all the streaming platforms, so they have an HDR deliverable. I don't think we've ever gone over 1,000 or 1,200 nits. We usually keep it around anywhere from 400 to 800,
Yeah.
right? But the monitoring system has 1500 nits, so you can actually monitor HDR.
And this is something I just started experimenting with recently. As I applied one of our HDR LUTs on the output and went to my LG OLED, I saw instantly the OLED lit up HDR. A little icon came on. I was like, what? And it was so cool to me to see that. Like, the monitor knew that I was sending HDR, so it triggered that mode and it went into display it that way. And oh, it looks so good. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I know you have an LG here somewhere, but like,
Yeah.
incredible. And Flanders, obviously,
Yeah.
amazing.
No,
as well.
the XMP 310s now have full
Yep.
HDR compatibility on that, and I love that because it's wonderful. I still like SD, because that's what I've looked at for so many years. But it's really nice to toggle it,
Yeah,
because there's times where you have that super hot sky and you're not filling enough in their faces.
Yep.
And that sky is just going to burn, and you're going to say, I can't see their faces. So one thing that I learned right off the bat with HDR is I got to fill more in backlit scenarios, just to be able to, when I have that, sun coming down lower in the sky, the whole sky's burning up, I'm trying to expose for them. And in HDR land, that the nits just burn your retina, so you really have to learn to balance that. Let's talk LUTs. So I'd love for you to take us through on the screen and then do the mirror over there so you can see where we're accessing that and how you access the LUTs.
So all of our cameras come with some default LUTs, 5 or 6 LUTs that are just basically color transforms from log or BMD film to 709 or 709 with a softer roll off in the highlights, which is our extended video LUT. And then we have, as mentioned, we have the 2 HDR LUTs. But you can load, these days I think you can load 25 custom LUTs on here.
Oh, perfect.
You can see I have a bunch here, and I'll switch this monitor over to go to LUTs. And yeah, look at my first LUT right there. Alexa wide gamut.
Nice.
And I got BMD film, HLG TM33, that's 33-point LUT. And several more custom. I got a black and white LUT on here. And there's so many different ways to do black and white, as you probably know. It's it's not just taking the color out, right?
No, exactly.
Lots of different choices there. There's a film look that one of our color scientists in Melbourne came up with for this camera.
Yeah, I really like that Gen 5 film look, actually.
Yep.
That's what we use a lot in studio here.
But it's really nice to be able to make your own. Go to the scene, you're going to be typically shooting, do the color chart, and kind of dial it in, and then create it in Resolve, export the LUT, and bring it to your camera, and then you have your own personal LUT.
It's so easy to navigate. You got your record, monitor, audio, setup, presets, LUTs. You're not going through 19 sub-menus
across
to
the
find
board.
The damn things.
Everybody loves their menus. It's the best because it's so intuitive, and it makes the camera so easy to teach. I can do it in 5 minutes. If you've never used our camera, I can get you up and running in 5 minutes.
That was it was absolutely intuitive, and I was able to find immediately the D-squeeze where, again, going through other camera manufacturers, sub-menus upon sub-menus upon sub-menus.
Everything is where you want it to be, and it's just so fast to get to things. And then with 13 hot buttons, you can just set up the camera just the way you want it. And for me, my default first 3 are false color. I use it on every shot.
Yep.
Focus peaking.
Yep.
And then log versus LUT. And those are the 3 that I always put on every camera. And of course, there's so many other options we can add on to that too. Clean feed.
And you're putting these 3 hot buttons, you're going right in there, right?
Yep.
So it's really close to you and you're hitting those.
A lot of our URSA cameras have these 3 buttons here, and it's usually F1, F2, and HFR for high frame rate. Of course, it's right next to the record button. So sometimes you might hit high frame rate by accident. And so I always reprogram it, but also I know how to do high frame rate from the other menu systems or the overlays. So I use that for log versus LUT, but you can program it to be whatever you want.
Okay, while we're in high frame rate, why don't you go spin the camera around again and just show them how you go into the record to get to, like what we said, that 12K at 60 frames. Yeah. Let's take them through that.
Let's go to the record tab here. There's a couple ways to do it. I mean, with all good systems, there's multiple ways to get there. And the fastest way is just from the display of the video. So I'll have that on this side and make sure if is this gonna copy over? Yeah. So all I have to do is hit frames per second, touchscreen. Right now it's at 2398. I would just touch that here. And then over here on the lower right corner, you're not seeing it here, but in the lower right corner, there's off speed. And off speed could be fast or slow-mo.
Right.
And so then it'll show me immediately what I have access to with the settings that are currently set up in the camera for, compression level, frame size, and all that.
Right.
And so wherever we left off, I can get to 160, which I believe was the 16:9 8K. So I can just slide this and dial in whatever off speed I want, and it's going to record it with that off speed, and it'll play it back in slow-mo or fast-mo.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, great.
So something we haven't talked about yet is that this camera does record Blackmagic RAW, but it also records identical proxy in an H.264 HD file. So it's very, very small compared to the RAW file, which could be 12K or 8K, but has the same time code and same metadata information that can be automatically uploaded to the cloud with Wi-Fi, or if you connect your cell phone to the USB-C port, that can be going to the cloud automatically, or hardwired 10G Ethernet as well. But it's important to know that we are making a proxy file, so you're getting two files every time you press record.
Oh, even when you're doing those high frame rates as well?
Yes.
Wow, because that was always a limitation on some cameras.
Yep.
If you went high frame rate, you couldn't do the proxy. If you wanted to do really high compression, you couldn't do the proxy.
Yep.
Or lower compression, you couldn't do the proxy. So all these kind of things are, you're really vetting out a lot of kind of the missteps or of technology actually, 5-6 years ago. You can see how it's really ramping up and giving us this ability.
And with shared workspaces in Resolve, it's just a really nice workflow to be on set shooting, and you got people getting clips, lining up on their timeline as we're shooting.
Great.
Very efficient.
All right. Well, that concludes our amazing first look of the Blackmagic URSA Cine 12K LF. And now we're going to go into a over-under test where we show you a beautiful oneer. Then Dave Cole and I are going to dive into it, stop it, look at from 6 under all the way up to 6 over, see how that feels, what it looks like, and it gives you a cinematic over and under instead of just a chip charts and skin tones and just overexposing and underexposing the digital negative to be able to then see if we can bring it back. This way we're putting it in a real life setting and seeing how the camera reacts to that. Thank you so much, Tor.
Thanks for having me. It was
fun. All right. Yeah, excellent job. Let's go to the over under.
Let's do it.